Hey, all you recovering emo kids. Amanda and Rob here with Emo Kids Anonymous podcast. And on today's episode, we have a great interview for you guys. Ben Mench, who is a booking agent, is going to be talking with us just about all of the different bands that he's been working with, how he gets started in his career, the emo orchestra, everything along those lines. Rob, what else
Ben
we need to tell
is
everyone before we get this
Ben
started?
is the best, dude. You guys are in for a treat on this interview. Ben is someone that when I first moved to LA, he had just also moved to LA at the same time, was my neighbor. I got to see him at the very beginning of his career, like as his first like internship in LA and kind of like, oh, I'm doing this thing with Live Nation now to like a few years later seeing, he works with Hawthorne Heights and then he creates emo orchestra. And then, like about a month or so ago, I used oh yeah, agent for all these band. You want to come see Horse the Band with me at the Region? I go down there and it's like Ben is like the boss of this world. And it's so cool to see. This guy's awesome. Family's awesome. I think I've kind of told it before on this, but there was one time I got in trouble. I got taken down to the Clink in LA. They took me down to the Twin Towers. They threw me in the jail for the night. I didn't get any trouble. I didn't do
It's
anything bad.
true.
But
You
like I
did say
did,
this
and
story. I remember
I
this.
got out, and like yeah, I'm at home, like, and I was still in the same clothes, and Ben shows up on my doorstep and is like, "Let's go to Fat Burger." And I was like, "Brother, I have like no money. Like I just got out of literal jail." And he's like, "I got you. I'll pay for you." And like I told this story to Ben when I saw him at the Region. He didn't even remember it, but it's like just really like these are things where it's like you don't know when you're gonna really like to me that's like the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me. And you buy me a burger, I buy people burgers all the time. We buy it is what it is. But like you never know when someone needs something, and it's just like Ben was a friend there, helped me out. He's been a friend to our podcast as well. You know what I mean? He's since the beginning. Like I think we reconnected because I think some of our stuff popped up on his. He's been helpful. You guys are gonna love this conversation. He's one of us.
Yeah. So without further ado, let's get into our
Well, no, they don't get to.
conversation
No,
with
no, no,
Ben.
no, no, no.
But
Before we dive into it, make sure if you're watching this, you like, you subscribe,
that's right.
you do all this stuff you need to do. Hit buttons, smash links,
That's right.
whatever the Mr. Beast talk stuff is here. Make sure you do that. And now, without further ado, you can tune into the interview.
Hey, all you recovering emo kids, Amanda and Rob here with Emo Kids Anonymous podcast, and we are joined today by your favorite booking agent, Ben Mench. Hey, Ben, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
Happy to see
thank
you,
you.
buddy.
Happy to see you. And for those who are not familiar, Ben is responsible for booking some of your favorite bands. Let me just run through this list because he sent us the list, and you guys are
Give
going
him the
to
list.
recognize so many of these names. We've Acceptance, The Almost, Anberlin, A Static Lullaby, Bad Luck, Emery, The Emo Orchestra, Flake, Further Seems Forever, Good Terms, Have Mercy, our favorite emo preacher, Hawthorne Heights with J.D. Woodruff.
Yeah,
We
the
call him emo
pastor of the
preacher.
church. Yeah, we call him.
Yeah,
Yeah, we call him
right.
yeah, he gives sermons.
The
The service,
Revs.
the Rev.
Yeah.
Horse the Band, Medina Lake, Norma Jean, Jay
I
Hood, Sugar Cult, and Tori Grace. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, what a lineup there, Ben.
Thank you.
Very,
Yeah.
and I not only did also just to point out really quick, not only Ben, not only do you book emo orchestra, but I mean you created it as well,
Awesome.
right?
Yeah,
You did,
created it.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
We're gonna have to
Yep.
get into that, yeah,
Yeah.
how that came about. But Ben, so obviously this is quite a lineup. Run us through kind of how you got your start in the industry to begin with. For those who are interested, maybe themselves in one day being a booking agent, when your time is come and gone, and maybe they want to take your place.
Yeah,
How
right.
does one become a booking agent? How did you get started?
I mean, I still don't think I want to be a booking agent 15 years into my career because it is a very high stress job. I feel like I read somewhere that an agent is like top 10 most stressful jobs. But no, I was in a band with my brother, and I was the guy in the band that like I booked all the shows. I figured out how to do like all the copyright stuff. I like developed the relationships with the like local radio stations and like the local like newspapers and zines and shit. Uh, Basically just figured out how to book my band.
Yeah.
Growing up, like our band was based in Vermont. We were Central Vermont, and, where there wasn't like a massive metal scene, which is the music that we grew up listening to. Like I grew up listening to all the bands that I work with right now,
Yeah.
and which is awesome.
Yeah, it works out pretty good.
When we get to,
Yeah, it does.
when we get to Hawthorne Heights, I have a funny story about that. Um, so left that band and I started like booking all of our friends' bands on like really anything I could get my hands on. Like if a club had like an open date, I would put together bills. So I was like sort of promoting, I was sort of like booking shows, I was doing like some battle band stuff and like working with shout out to 99.9 The Buzz, which is Burlington's rock station that played like a had a great local segment every Sunday. And so from there, like I figured that I really wanted to do something in music, and an opportunity
Mm-hmm.
presented itself where I got to work at an audio company in Rutland, Vermont, which is about an hour south of where I was living, which is Shoreham, Vermont, which if you drink whiskey, that's where Whistle Pig
Yep.
was created. So shout out to Whistle Pig. And so I would work there through summers, and I was doing like some front of house mixing, I was doing stage patch, I was doing backline for like all these like massive festivals and massive shows. And like I found like some passion in live music. And I wanted to study sort of like the recording arts of it all, right? I wanted to
Yeah.
sit behind a desk and record bands. And I got accepted to Berklee College of Music in Boston.
Wow.
Berkeley kid. Yeah. Yeah. He
Berklee
was
kid.
so I guess I
Okay.
didn't see anyone listening. Me and Ben used to live together when we first moved to LA. When we first moved to Hollywood.
Yeah.
We were
Wow.
next door neighbors, and it was like I moved there for music. He's there for music. He was a Berkeley guy, and my roommate Justin was an MI, the local music school, which is like here's Berkeley, here's MI, and it's like Berkeley people like this, it's like this whole
I
thing. It's just
mean,
like
yeah, when I think of, yeah, it's Berkeley School of Music.
no, that's the music school.
It
That is
makes
that
my
is the
eyebrows
one.
go,
I
oh,
was like, yeah, one
okay.
of these
Yeah.
is a legitimate college. One of these you
Okay,
find
we're
in the back of
making
a
Ben
magazine.
blush now. We're making Ben
I know. I
blush.
feel like my face is
Smart
getting
boy.
red.
Smart boy. Yeah. Yeah.
Smart boy
It's okay.
over
I'm a
here.
middle child. I live on like
Yeah.
complex.
Right. Yeah.
Yes,
We got.
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at Berkeley, and so my primary instrument was actually saxophone, which is what I played like through school and like what I was like studied on. I was playing like drums in punk rock bands up to this point too. And so I got accepted to Berkeley. I wanted to study audio engineering, music production engineering, which was that major specifically, and actually got denied from the major twice, and because it's like super cutthroat to get in, you have to have like recordings and like all these written recommendations. And I had like really good recommendations. A buddy of mine who actually helped create our production spec of the orchestra, who was also the system engineer for the Project Revolution tours, was like Lincoln Park and so on,
Yeah.
and like had like great recommendations from all these people, still got denied. And at this point, I joined up with another band, and I was playing in that band. I was like getting a better grasp of the business, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. Like I'm understanding what business, like what the business side of
Yeah.
this is. Like, I'll just study that and like see if something piques my interest. So I focused, declare my major as in music business, stopped playing with that band to really sort of like focus on school. And about halfway through my college, about half my way through my Berkeley stint, I was like, this is great. Like what I'm learning is great. It was all on such like a massive scale. So like our projects were like, okay, you have a million, you manage a band, you have $1 million advance. Like, what are you doing with that money? And it's like, well, I don't think I'm gonna get out of college and make those decisions. Like, I want to know like how we get to that point. And so I was like, well, I know how to book shows, and so I'm gonna start doing that. So I found like a couple brands at Berkeley, and I was like, can I just book you guys? Like book your little weekend runs or whatever. So I started doing that. Found a couple other kids at Berkeley who were like, hey, like we want to like
Mm-hmm.
book bands too. Like we see what you're doing. We want to do the extracurricular stuff. So we saw like started gathering like all these like Berkeley kids. And so I was booking bands, I was managing some bands, some other dudes I was working with were also booking those bands. We had this little like communion of like or community of like 10, 12 like Berkeley kids like booking shows and promoting shows and managing bands. Around this time too, I was like, well, I need like a couple more bucks for like, cigarette and beer money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There
I
used to be
had
some
this like
Yeah.
Budweisers. Yeah.
I had this van and trailer from when I was touring in a band, and I was like, I'm gonna fucking like charge all these Berkeley kids $40 a show, and I'll drive them around town, and I'll bring all their gear in my van and trailer and drop them off. And so I started learning, like, I started to get to know all the door guys, all the promoters, all the tech guys. I was just like just doing that, and then I was also throwing house parties. um so I would go to like a lot of house shows, and I realized that shit was always going down at these house shows. So I started going to like house shows and being like, hey, like I have some guys I think I could get like to do security at these shows. One day I walked out of my, and I lived in
Wow.
like the hood in Boston. I walked out of my house. I went to a couple bigger dudes down the street and was like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'll kick you $75 tonight if you come to this house and just bounce kids that are too fucked up. And so I would
Yeah.
charge the house $100 for a security guy. I give them 75 and pocket $25. And
Yeah.
so it's just like
How we lived
doing
our
this.
lives in Philly, because we
Really a
lived in the
bench.
hood in Philly, but we would pay the homeless people a couple
Right.
It's a
bucks
good
to do
angle.
that.
You're
Yeah,
stimulating
we
economies.
did.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, yeah.
That's what we
So
did as kids, make
it really
millions.
just fueled my alcohol and cigarette habit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
But it was really fun because it was like I know what I no idea what I was doing, but like it
Yeah.
sort of like set like the basis of like what I do today, which is like wear many hats, be kind of people, and like know how the game is played. And from there, I did study abroad through Berkeley in London for 3.5 months. I got an internship through a company called the Agency Group, which is now UTA. And I got to work with agents like Ross Warnock and Anna Brewer and Tom Taff and Becky Sudgren,
Yeah.
all of which have gone on to have phenomenal rosters and just absolutely amazing people. And I got to, like indirectly work with bands like 4 Year Strong and Let Live and Chiodos to like, I mean, like just awesome, awesome fucking bands.
Yeah.
Whether it be like ticket counts or contract tracking or, covering shows or whatever it is. And I feel like that, like doing that semester, I found like some of my favorite bands. Like I fucking like Let Live is one of my favorite bands, and like that team out there showed me those guys.
Awesome.
So came back to Boston. I finished up my last credits at Berkeley, and I was working at this like indoor trampoline park, and
Shout out to the Sky Zone. Yeah.
Yeah,
Scott said,
Sky those.
uh, and they're like, because I have a great work ethic, I'm a very nice person. They're like, we want to make you a manager. Like you're so good with people, blah blah blah. And I'm like, I did not just spend 4 years of my life at fucking music school to be a goddamn manager of a trampoline park.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody who is a trampoline park manager. It just I didn't see that as the path for me.
No, yeah,
And
makes sense.
There's
so I
people out
called
there
up.
passionate about trampolines. Yeah, it just wasn't you.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
fucking love bouncing. I was the best
Yeah.
shape of my life when I was working
Yeah.
at a fucking trampoline park.
That you were.
And so so they asked me to do that, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. They're like, well, think about it, blah 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 blah. And so I remember that night I went home and I like had reached out to the team at the agency group in London. It was like, I need a gig somewhere. I can't be
Yeah.
a trampoline park manager. And they hit me back immediately. They're like, we have nothing, because I refused to move to New York. And they're like, we have nothing in London. Like, we might have something for you in LA. It's an internship. Do you want it? I'm like, I don't give a fuck. And so they connect me with the LA team. I have a call with them like literally the next day. And the CFO over there was like, we really like you. We got heard great things about you in London. If you want this internship, it's yours. I'm like, cool. When does it start? He's like, well, sort of just started. I'm like, cool. Well, when do you need me to be out there? And he's like, well, how soon can you be out there?
It's a fucking 11-hour
2 weeks.
flight.
You're like,
I'm like,
soon as
two
you
weeks,
need
and
me.
he's like, 2 weeks sounds good. I'm like, sick. I hung up the phone. I quit my job. I packed a bag. Fucking got a plane ticket. Shout out to mom for supporting me on that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Went
Shout
to
out mom.
LA, slept on my friend's floor for a couple weeks, and then ultimately moved in to become Rob's fucking neighbor in
Fucking
East
neighbor.
Hollywood.
And here's where
Shout out.
Rob shows up.
Shout out Delano. Yeah, shout out Delano Street. We move into the same complex the same week. And I remember to
Yeah,
tie into like these things you're saying, I remember when we like as we I moved there and you at this point, like because we're basically the same age, right? 35, 36, or
yeah,
something, right? Like the same
36.
age.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I remember thinking at that time, like, we're 21, 22, and it's like, don't you want
so
to be
fun. What an
you play
awesome time to be
Oh,
alive.
it's fucking madness. But it's like you play drums. Why aren't you in a band? You'd rather this business thing. I think one thing you've done really well that shows like why you're at this age and you're so far along in your career is like you made the conscious effort very early to be like, I'm focusing on this instead. Whereas I think everyone that plays music thinks their shit doesn't stink or they can make it. And so as a
Yeah.
drummer, your odds of making it are honestly higher than any of ours, really. There's only so many drummers. But like you
We
made
know
that
this
fucking
now.
was it difficult to make that transition from like I'm not going to be a musician, I'm going to be a music businessman
Yeah.
essentially, or was like you did that pretty
Yeah,
early?
yeah. I mean, like I still love playing. Like guitar. Like I don't play my drums anymore because I'm a 4 year old. But like guitar and piano, like I love like I still like to play, and like definitely think there's a part of me that like vicariously lives through all my bands playing on stage to thousands and thousands of people. But yeah, I mean, like I realize like especially going to Berkeley, there's a lot better fucking players than me out there, and I was like, well, there's so much talent there, and I feel like I can find out ways or figure out the way to get that talent in front of people. So like
Yeah.
that's what my strong suit is. So let me go down let me do that. Obviously, and it's funny because like every time one of if a band member leaves one of my bands, I'm like, well, just remind you guys, I play drums.
Yeah, I can fill in a spot.
He,
Yeah.
What's up?
they're like, but it's not the drummer who left.
Yeah, yeah, I'll play the rest. Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'm right here,
You're like,
boys. I'm already
I could
basically
do
in the
it.
band.
Well, apparently there is a need for drummers. We every
Yeah,
band we ever interview, there
yeah,
always seems to be
Yeah,
a
no, it's a thing. It's very
opening
much
for
a
a
thing.
yeah,
drummer.
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But what is so in your mind when it comes to a booking agent? What is the secret sauce? What makes you so successful in what you do that has gotten you to this point? I mean, you have quite a list of people, and I know that we like to talk about some of these bands on your list. But I mean, what do you think makes you so successful at what you do at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's passion. Like
Okay.
I listen to all my bands. I would listen to all my bands
Yeah.
if I didn't rep them,
Yeah.
and like part
Mm-hmm.
of this business, like their career, their income relies on you like being like, all right, I'm gonna book some shows today. Like I don't have a boss above me being like, hey, did you book that Hawthorne Heights tour? Hey, did you book that fucking
Yeah.
or
No,
Sac like
you
nobody
want
does
to.
that. Yeah,
Yeah. You're.
exactly. You gotta want to do, and you gotta be able to grind and like pick up the phone and like ask for more money.
Yeah,
And
you're a freelance. This is your own thing.
I work at an agency.
Okay, you work at an agency.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I work in an agency. So I mean, there's something like 20 agents here.
Okay.
So all of our rosters pulled together. Plus support staff, plus accounting, plus this, plus that. I mean,
Yeah.
like we are, like I most of our business is the Wild Wild West. There is some structure to what we do.
Some structure. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, over the years, it's like I've collected this list of bands and developed these relationships with the management teams and the labels and the business managers and the attorneys. And there's a lot of trust that goes into, representing these clients and these bands. Like there's in the music industry is different than most because you are very hands-on with intellectual
Yeah.
property and like the people that created this IP are trusting people on their team to make sure that they're not fucking with it, like
Yeah.
we're putting them in positions where they're able to win and succeed over and
Yes.
over again and not an uncomfortable position. And whether that be like a club that has a good reputation to playing, packaging with with other bands that are on the similar path of success and not like gonna somehow tarnish their their brand and what they've worked on for so long. I also, and I can't remember what the question was.
So what makes the Ben sauce?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
What
yeah,
makes
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
successful at
yeah,
what you do?
yeah. Passionate. I mean, like I sign bands really just based on like if I like it. Like Tori is one of my newer signs, and she's based in Nashville. Singer songwriter, like alt, like country singer songwriter, who's just putting her first record out, and she just kept popping up my Instagram reels, and I was like, this is great. And I reached out to her one day. I was like, I book bands. I don't know if you've ever heard of any of the bands that I book, but
Yeah,
like, would
I
you
don't know if
come
you're
in
familiar with
and
these
like
bands. Yeah.
and yeah, would you come in and like have a conversation? And she came in and she seemed really passionate. But it's like, you take Tor and you compare it to like, Acceptance or Amberlynn or somebody, it's apples and oranges where she's at with her career versus like where they're at. Thankfully, I have the ability to be able to sign some of these developing clients because I have a bulk of bigger bands that allow me to sort of like be able to, use some of
Mix
that
them in.
spare time, not spare time, but yeah, be able to spend time
Yeah.
on developing other artists because that's important, like, Amberlynn and Hawthorne and all these other bands, they're not going to tour for the rest of their lives.
Nope.
It's,
And they'll take
and
breaks. Yeah.
yeah, and part of your duty, I feel like, in the business side of music is like being, part of that component to bringing new music to communities and to new ears.
Shit. Yeah, I think you might not know this, Ben, but the music industry, the music business, you guys don't have the best reputation all the time.
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Especially,
We talk about yeah.
But like, it's like this is a clearly like it's like to me, it's like yo, you're living your fucking dream. Like your man, like these bands you love. Like if I, like excuse me for speaking on turn here, but I mean, I saw you invited me out. We saw Horse the Bands, and if I
Mm.
remember correctly, your story is basically like you kind of goaded them into booking a fucking tour almost because you're like, I wanted
Yeah,
to see Horse the Bands. I
yeah,
want to see Horse the Bands, so fuck it. Let me.
that's exactly it. Yeah, I mean, like with that band, like I like that record, The Mechanical Hand, had its anniversary, and I noticed that last year, and I like reached out to the band. I'm like, I fucking love this record, and I just want to see it. Like, would you guys play some shows? Like, I'll book it. Like, I'd love to sign this band. And after a conversation with David, the guitar player,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, all right, well, like let's see what's out there. And I like a couple weeks reached out to a bunch of promoter buddies. I was like, Horse the band might reunite, and they're like, fuck yeah, let's do this.
Let's
And
get it
got a
going.
bunch of offers and showed the
Amazing.
band. I'm like, we gotta. They're like, this is the most money our band's seen in a long time. I'm like, well, let's do a fucking tour.
So let's go, boys.
Like so, and that tour, that the second leg of the tour just wrapped over the weekend, and like, for example, like our Philadelphia show, we started at Foundry, which is 300 tickets or
Yeah,
300
she's
capacity,
from Philly. Yeah.
and we were I ended up bumping it up, and we were like 10 tickets shy of selling out TLA, so which is a
Wow, that's
thousand cap.
awesome. Yeah,
So like
TLA is great.
just seeing that, and like, one of the things I like, or that not I like, one of the things that I feel like helps round me out as an agent is I like to try and think like a manager in a lot of instances, where I'm not just like booking the shows, but I'm also like coming up with creative ways to like, put those shows out and put those tours out. Horse the band, for example, I was like, all right, well, the band doesn't have a huge reach on Instagram. It's been a minute since we played. We have 20,000 monthly listeners, but I do believe that there's a big fan base out there. And actually, I reached out to Lambgoat, and I was like, because they had kind of a funny story. Lambgoat, if you're not from, are you familiar with Lambgoat? They're like music publication. They handle a
Hmm.
lot of like metal news and rumors
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah,
tour rumors
yeah.
and stuff like
The
that.
website.
Yeah.
Website. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, they do like like similar to like Metal Injection and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Okay. I've seen it.
Horse, when I was putting the tour together, Horse had posted like a very zoomed in photo of the Mechanical Hand record and just put the location as 2025. And Lambgo was the first one to post like Horse the band rumored to reunite in 2025. And I'm like, oh shit, that was really quick. And so I was at Furnace Fest last year, and Lambgoat had a tent set up. I went over to the tent, and I'm like, hey, who the fuck posted that article about Horse the band? And they all pointed at Dave, the CEO, and he's like, that was me. I'm like, I'm Horse the band's agent, and the tour's fucking happening. Let's figure out a way to do something together. I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do something with you guys because you have a reach, and that posts were
Yeah, we need
fucking
that. We need that
busy.
partnership. Yeah.
Yeah, so I proposed to them like an idea of doing a pre-sale, where I was like, let me, because you have the reach, you know how to reach our fan base, let me basically like build you into our pre-sale. It'll be Lambgoat Presents. I'll have all the promoters create a special code is Lambgoat, and I'll give you a 5 minute head start on the announce, so all the publications reference you for the tour announce, and I'll drive all of our ticket links, or I'll put all of our ticket links on your website, drive all the traffic to you guys, and see if this works. And Philly was a perfect example. A tour went up. Philly did like 25 pre-sales through Live Nation's passcodes, and we did 256 through using Lambgoat. It was literally
Tech.
just
Tech.
from, yeah, it was
10%.
just
Yeah.
which is, I mean, it was literally just from coming up with like an interesting idea for a tour launch. I
He's
feel like a
making
lot
all
of
these
fans.
moves.
It's being
I feel
creative.
like, yeah, I mean, like, we as music consumers get hit with the like new shit all the fucking time, whether it be on our email or text, on social media, and trying to figure out a way to break out from the very monotonous way of fans consuming music news and industry news, like because like Spotify does pre-sale and Amex does their pre-sale, Citibank through Live Nation, yada yada yada. There's a million ways for fans to get tickets, but it's
We're
like,
getting 20 emails a day. All these
yeah,
presales. Just
like,
it's noise.
exactly, it's noise, exactly. So like you look in your email, you see like a Live Nation email, like, well, that's spam, delete. You see a Spotify email, it's like, well, I don't want to listen to new music today, so that's a delete. And so how do you get these new tour announcements that are getting lost in the ether from all the other tour announcements? So sorry, that was like a super long-winded rant.
No, no,
Or
no,
it's
no. It's incredible because what you're showing is the ingenuity that you have is then also creating for the bands that you're booking. They're just they're gonna stick with you. They realize that you have an invested interest in them, and they will have a vested interest in you, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
I think
Hold
there's
on to
a.
clients as long as you can.
yeah,
I think there's a thing too with a lot of bands, especially like not even older, because I see it with the younger ones now, like the new generation, where it's just they're doing like TikToky shit, and it's all just feels so generic.
exactly.
Bands traditionally are introverted. You might get examples where someone's very creative and very entrepreneurial, but for the most part, these are artists, and artists are kind of weird, kind of quiet, this or that. Like they aren't necessarily thinking of these creative ways of essentially like we need to drive fucking heads into a building. We need to generate money. We need to generate interest. Like how can we do this uniquely? Because your job should, as the band, your job shouldn't be like how can I make a cute little video or how can I line up this partnership to sell extra tickets. So for you to be able to do that for them is like imagine there's building that trust there as well. Like oh
Right,
shit,
exactly.
I want to work with this guy.
Exactly. I mean, like when bands see that their agent gives a shit about the tour and not the commission, I think that's like a big part of it, you know? Because I like, like the agency side is it's a commission business.
Hmm.
And so when you see agents that have like, 50, 60, 70 bands on their roster, it's like, well, they're booking quantity.
Yeah.
And I want my bands to know, like, I have a lean and mean roster for a very specific reason because I spend a lot of time on all my bands, and every tour is important. From ticket prices to what's the economic impact that my show might have, or the social impact that this band has in this specific market, what the fans paying for ticket prices, and plus and also ticketing fees, and is there ways for fans that aren't in our income bracket, like are there ways for them to get tickets without those fees, and just being like hyper, just being aware of stuff like that because like especially right now, every dollar counts,
Yeah.
and we're lucky
Yeah.
enough to work in a business of people spending their disposable income to come see in a band, which is, you think about it, at the end of the day, our what I do is fucking
Secondary.
hilarious.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I book
tertiary. Yeah.
fucking shows, right? Like I book fucking tours.
Yeah.
And so, trying to create from my seat, trying to create the best experience for the fan, from making sure that the ticket links work to the show actually happening, while all that is behind the scenes, and agents often get forgotten on the thank you liner notes on records, which I'm not going to hold that against
No,
anybody or
hold that against you
call out
guys. Yeah.
any specific bands. So it
Whoa,
is, yeah, it's interesting. So
that's too
yeah.
funny. Let me ask you here real quick. Emo Orchestra. Let's talk about this a little because
Yeah.
It's about 2023, I think, or it's 2023 is the first. I'm at my. I remember I'm in Palm Springs with my family. I'm just flipping around article about it. I click on. I'm like halfway through reading this article, and it's like, and creator Ben Mench-Thurlow, and I'm like, I felt this insane sense of fucking pride for you. Where I was just like, that's my
Oh, thanks,
boy.
bro.
That's my dude. I was like, what the? Because I kept seeing it pop up, like people sharing it. I'm like, oh, neat, neat. Ben, because at that point I knew you were working with Hawthorne Heights. It's like, oh no, Ben came up with this. So like, where did this come from? How did this
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll spare you the long and sappy story of it, but it's, like from where I sat in when I first started booking shows. I started at when I was at a company called APA. It's now called IAG. I was in the theatricals and special attractions, so I was booking everything from like Air Supply to like illusion shows to like you name it, and I was doing a lot of like theaters. And these are like high spectacle shows in a lot of cases where there's a lot of moving parts. And I was working on like tours that had orchestras and shit. And I was also just happened to be like the youngest guy in that. It would felt like the entire industry. I would go to these conferences and it'd be like, dudes that were like, on the brink of retirement that have been booking these theaters for like 35, 40 years. And I'm like this young gun with sleeves, with tattoo sleeves, and like coming in and being like, you guys want to talk about Air Supply?
Yeah,
No offense to Air Supply. Air Supply's fucking rips.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but time and time again, I would hear these promoters be like, "We need some new stuff. Like our fan base is older. Our sales are down because our fans are getting too old to come to shows. Like we need new shit
phasing
to
out.
come
Yeah.
in."
They don't want to do this the Zelda orchestra. They're not into that
Yeah,
anymore.
Yeah, right.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. They're like,
how can we
oh,
get the
like,
millennials to the theater?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
How do
right?
we get the Jersey Boys not again? Like we want something young. So and I
Yeah,
was
I know.
representing some bands at the time that like would dip their toe into playing theaters, but like it was just a regular rock show, which is not what theaters were really looking for, right? Like the idea, which is important. And I talked about this with a lot of my bands, being able to bob and weave and look 10 years down the road, where like we have these fans like me that are 30, 36, and in 10 years I'm 46. And the question is, am I going to want to stand on a beer soaked floor for, at 11 o'clock at night to see like a band that I sort of want to see, that I bought tickets to 3 months ago? And the answer is like kind
Yeah.
of no, right? I mean, maybe a little bit different for me, but like your average
so
consumer.
yeah,
And so the idea of basically taking something traditional like an orc and putting something that I have passion for, emo music, and combining both of those things and putting it into a completely different form, putting it into a
Yeah.
setting for a fan, right? One of the big hurdles that we had were like, how do you differentiate this from the band's regular show, and how do you differentiate from an emo night? Because it is basically an emo night, right? Like the set itself is a
it's a
couple
high
songs
end
from
emo
our
night.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fancy emo night, where we like encourage fans to like dress up. They're gonna have like a nice seat. It's gonna be air conditioned. They're gonna definitely overpay for a glass of wine, but that's part of the whole thing. JT from Hawthorne actually said it best on the first tour. He had mentioned that it was that this show is an apology letter from every band that made fans go to Warp Tour, stay on the blacktop for 15 hours just to watch their favorite band.
You can
He
do it
always
comfortably.
says it best. He always says it best, though. That makes sense.
Yes, yes, he's really good at thinking on the fly.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is.
He's got a great mouth. Yeah.
But
He
yeah,
does.
but it's true. I mean, like, like our show is an evening with it's two sets, 45, 50 minute sets. You're going to hear a bunch of covers from a band that you grew up on, and those covers will never be played again. It's all going to be like, adding the orchestra element adds a whole like different dimension to these songs too. And I feel like strings and this genre went really, really well together.
Yeah.
Story of the Year did it, The Used did it. Like so many of these bands use orchestras to quartets to single violins to whatever, and it just works so well with the theatrical element of like emo, um the emo genre. So yeah, started in 2023 with Hawthorne. We did Escape the Fate last year, and then we're working on spring for next year. So we took a year off because it is a big big
Big
big
undertaking.
undertaking.
Yes,
It's multiple buses, it's lots of production,
of
it's lots
course.
of rehearsals, it's many, many moving parts. We were lucky enough to lock down our conductor and an arranger. His name is Evan Rogers. He's based out of LA. He's scored for the Frozen films, Call of Duty, Battlefield games. He's scored
Love the Frozen
for
films. Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
Let it go,
Famous
Rich.
Paul.
Aquaman. I mean, like the last tour, we have a picture of him standing in front of a movie theater marquee, and all four posters behind him. He had scored all four of the films,
Yeah.
and the kicker is he just turned 28 on our last tour. So
Jesus Christ.
if you think you've not done
I'm
anything
thinking,
with your
yeah. I'm
life,
thinking you're
Yeah, I'm
describing a
like,
40.
well,
I'm thinking you're describing a 50-year-old man right here. I'm like, oh, what a great guy.
no,
No,
yeah,
he's
I'm.
a fucking child.
yeah,
No,
Damn.
I
no,
know. With my life lately, that's what I need to start thinking about.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shit. Yeah.
So do you?
yes.
So do you know what band are you got? What band you're going to be?
I think so. We haven't officially locked in like
Of
our
course,
final
yeah.
agreement, so I'm not going to mention who it is
Of
just in
course,
case
yes.
that comes back to bite me in the butt. But yeah, we are pretty sure we've honed in on our band for the next tour. That list is going to be awesome. I mean, fans can expect all the fun theatricals that we bring out. I think one of the great things about this show too is that like I have a kid, like we're really like family focused with this show, and I think that's important to in the words of JT, continue to develop that next generation of emo.
Mhm.
And because
Try
like
real hard.
just because like these a lot of these songs were written fucking 20 years ago, 25 years ago in some cases, like doesn't mean that those same lyrics don't apply to like our 13-year-olds right now and our kids
Yes.
going through all those developmental changes where like they feel so isolated, whether it be in their home or their community, like they can listen to this music and feel a sense of like companionship and camaraderie with an entire group of people that they don't know. So yeah, so encouraging families to come out and specifically with those that are like interested in just orchestras in general. It's a very like high century type of show. In that like, you're hearing instruments that maybe like some of these families have never heard because we do go to a lot of tertiary markets. Families like that kids are seeing our show. Our show might be the first time a kid's never heard a violin before.
Damn.
And that's like super special to us because we get to see that and we get to see a lot of like first time show goers. And that's really special. And, like off, like I was at a show. Actually, my mom comes out on our tours. She'll come out for like 5 days to a week and she'll sleep on the bus and like do it's hilarious to watch her walk around.
I met your mom once.
And
I feel like your mom came. Your mom came to
you
LA a few times.
definitely,
I've definitely met
yeah,
your mom. Your mom's a
definitely.
fucking
Yeah.
sweetheart. Yeah, I've definitely met
Yeah.
this woman. Yes.
She's awesome.
Over the top.
She
Yeah.
goes, she goes in more conscious than I think I do. And I go to a lot of fucking shows. Like I was like I can't remember, we were somewhere in California, but like I was walking around the show and there was like a young kid there and his dad was with him and he was like I don't know, like probably like 6, 7, 8 years old. And I just happened to talk to his dad and his like dad's like, oh, this is his first show. I'm like, well, I'm Ben. I'm like one of the producers of the show. Like, do you guys want to come backstage and meet the band? And it was during intermission and Craig Mabbitt from Escape the Fate is one of the hands down nicest dudes I've ever met. And I brought the kid backstage. I'm like, Craig, like you got a young fan here. And Craig's like, holy shit, dude, what's up? Like gave him some signed stuff, took pictures with him and the dad. And it was like,
Sick.
I love being in a like while I can't do that from where I sit with a lot of my bands, that is an opportunity where like I have a small microphone. I can like make impacts on people's lives, like even if it's like really small, I think, oftentimes like people ask me, this is sort of a little diversion of the orchestra thing, but just because I'm on the topic, people ask me like what my favorite part of my job is a lot of
Yeah.
times, and it's not fucking sitting in this goddamn office. It's definitely not all the meetings or the phone calls. My favorite thing about this job is whether people know it or not, we get to create moments for people, and whether it's like someone might come to a show that I booked, and like that's the night that their mom passed away, or that's the night that they met like the love of their life, or that's the night that they reunited with their best friend or something like that. And while they don't know who I am, I just know those
You
things are
made that
happening, be
happen.
able to sit back. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that all happened because I picked up the phone and was like, I want to play this venue on this day, and this is what the ticket price is. And it's like knowing that I think is a big driver for like what I do. Because the music community just is so
Yeah.
important to me. It's so important to so many people, and being able to be part of those things. So, which sort of ties back to what I just said about the bringing
Do
the kid
you
backstage
are
and
you
stuff.
responsible for working on like the VIP packages, things like that too, or is it
Yeah, so it sort of depends on the camp. A lot of
okay?
times, if a band does want to do a VIP, like I'll go and like pull proposals from different VIP companies, and
Okay,
like
gotcha.
on occasion, like negotiate some of the points of interest,
Okay.
depending on like if I have a number of clients with that VIP company, I
Yeah.
can sometimes negotiate with some of those like split points and stuff.
Did you responsible for Hawthorne Heights, recent one that they did when they
You
were
talking about the
doing?
Chiodos tour?
Yes, yes, yeah. The one
Yeah,
on the
so
bus.
Hawthorne handles a lot of their own stuff.
They,
They
I
are
figured they
like
did. Yeah,
they
they
are
were.
very hands-on
Yeah,
about everything, which is great.
because
And
that was
I
one of my favorite VIP moments. Yeah, for me personally, that was one of my favorite ones. Yeah.
It's great. And most bands would like massively cringe at the fact of like people going onto their bus because like that is their home, right? That's their
Yeah,
traveling little
it's their
home,
home. Yeah,
and you got
they
people
had a lot
coming
of
in there.
Lacroix on that bus.
Oh, well, those guys don't drink, so lots of
Yeah,
LaCroix.
exactly.
LaCroix and coffee, as the
Yes.
big coffee dudes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like they're, those dudes, I've been with those guys, I think out of the roster that I sent you, I think I've been with them probably the longest.
I was gonna say,
Wow.
I for years ago, I remember you the whole time. It's been like 10 years of you working with Hawthorne Heights. That was the first band. I was like, oh
Yeah.
shit, Ben's working with fucking Hawthorne Heights. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, that when I started working with that band, I was an assistant, and the agent that was representing them at the time was like he had just come over to APA, he needed to clean up his roster, and he wasn't sure if he was going to work
Yeah.
with them. I was like, well, I fucking love this band. He's like, well, like emo's dead, like no one's buying this shit. I'm like, I think the genre is going to come back, and I started putting a lot of stock into booking like these like
Glad you
emo
did
bands.
that.
led to
You were
my next
smart
question.
for
I've been
that.
sitting on here. Let me ask something.
Yes.
So
Go
like,
ahead.
many times when we know each other, for the most part, I'd say in the tens, for lack of better terms, culturally in the main emo kind of in our world kind of feels like it falls off a little. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
to a degree. I mean, it's still popular, bands still doing great. But then around, let's say, around the pandemic or so,
Yeah.
there's shit pops off again, and there's a revival.
Makes a
Why?
TikTok.
What do you think caused this, and how has this impacted and changed shit for you guys? As you probably, I mean, it's probably made tours bigger, made money, but like from your on the inside, how do you think this kind
Sure.
of happened?
Yeah. I mean,
It's
I think a
popping
couple
off right
things.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I think that like, saying earlier, like even though this shit was written 25 years ago, kids can still relate to it. And I think, like because of stuff like TikTok and, content creators that are like using these band songs and sort of bringing like breathing new life into them, guys like Matt Cutshaw and When We Were Young and obviously Warped Tour coming back, these major like forces and newer faces too in the scene that really just breathed life back and everything. And then obviously with like Emo Night LA, Emo Night Brooklyn, all the other local emo nights, keeping this music live within their local communities. And then bands like still touring. That's the one thing that like didn't stop. These bands all still
They've all been
fucking
playing.
tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've all been playing. Yeah.
Hawthorne has never come off the road. They have been touring their entire career, and like it was funny when I remember picking them when I would pick them up and or when I picked them up and we would do tour announcements, people were like, "Oh, I didn't even know Hawthorne Heights was still a band." It's like fucking
Ain't
never
going
went
anywhere.
away.
They
Never went
Like
never
away.
went
they
away.
like never stopped touring, which is absolutely hilarious. Like I urge anybody to listen to this, like go back to like your mixtapes or stuff that you listened to 10 years ago, and like go see if that band's still touring. And chances are they are, and chances are they probably need your ticket sale. You know,
Yeah. The
so like
streaming's
going to
not
see that.
cutting it anymore.
Yeah. And I think we are living in a very interesting time right now too, where like 10 years ago, someone was like, "Oh, I listen to everything," which was absolute bullshit. now people do listen to everything, and you've got
Yeah.
bands like Knock Loose and Sleep Token and Turnstile. You've got these like hardcore bands are playing Jimmy
Yeah.
Kimmel Live, which when the last time that
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
happened was like 2005,
fucking insane. Yeah,
so you've got kids who went to the Eras tour, but are also listening to like Knock Loose, and they're being like, "Oh, I kind of like it when people scream in my fucking ears. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I
right.
like that.
Something to this.
I like aggression. I think I'm having my awakening right now to
Yeah.
hardcore. But it's also confusing on our end because now all of our analytics that we're looking at, it's skewed because it's like you've got listeners that are listening to stuff, but like, is it enough to get their ticket sale? So it's a very interesting world right now of where we're living and how also we're getting these tour announcements in front of fans,
Yeah.
and trying to drag those new fans in. So I think over the next 5 years, you're going to start seeing even more interesting packaging out there, with bands trying to tour with bands that
Yeah.
maybe aren't really even in their purview, just to gain new fans. And I do that often with a lot of my bands just to be like, like we have a hint of active rock. Let's go do that. We have a hint of this. Let's go try this. We have like a punk band tour with an indie band or this or that, whatever. Because people are listening to everything, and like if people are listening to everything, like there's a chance they're gonna like a band that's not within the purview of the
Yes.
headliner's genre. They're gonna like them on the bill, and like if that
Yeah.
happens, then we're able to have more people at shows because you've got two bands drawing,
Exactly.
instead of everybody sharing the same fans.
So I'm curious, what exactly, if you're allowed to talk about it, like what analytics are you guys looking at in terms of like how do you go about deciding who should you be booking with this band when you're creating those tours? Because I remember I've seen a lot of whenever they say, oh, ticket prices are low, like just because something does really well on TikTok doesn't necessarily translate into ticket sales whenever it comes to like
Getting
booking
people off
tours
their
for
ass
some
and
like
yeah, it's
Charlie
different.
XCX, things like that, right? So I'm
Yeah.
curious, like what kind of analytics those look like. Those are.
Yeah, I mean, like a couple different things, right? Like
Yeah.
from like what we can see through Ticketmaster, we can see like first of all like what our average ticket buyer is from like their age range to their income level
Yeah.
to like this and that and everything else. We look at Spotify socials. There's a couple different apps that we can look at sort of like trending growth of an artist, and there are certain things that like we would wish that people would give up. Like we would love to see like a more detailed view on like Spotify listeners and like where those listens are coming from because if that happened, if they would share more information, we'd be able to like
You
do
can't
more
see
interesting, do better.
yeah, with
Really?
my Spotify for Artists app, I can see where the listeners are and stuff like that. But I guess like is it because this is in the hands of the labels or something?
No, I mean you can see to a point on that, but like there are certain like demographic points that would like be that would be
Yeah,
cooler
they
to
don't have
see
demo
too.
points on there now. Yeah,
And but at the end of the day, like there are also so many variables when it comes for every single show. I mean, between the weather to sports to fucking, like there's so many variables these days. We used to like be able to
Yeah.
route a tour around whether or not the fucking college game was going on that day.
yeah.
Now it's like
Well, yeah.
weather patterns are fucking insane. The weather is constantly changing, so we have to be like constantly looking out for that. And like, is it it's getting hotter earlier, it's staying hotter later. Being aware of like shit like that to like what's happening politically and like how that's affecting everybody's dollars. Like, there's so many things to be thinking
Right?
about. Like agents, I'm gonna go on. I'm getting on my pedestal. Agents
No,
deserve
Do
more than
it.
10% commissions,
I
right? We deserve a
literally.
lot fucking more than that.
Let's get some
Well, I was thinking
raises
about
going
going
on.
Warp
Yeah,
Tour. Like, did
Yeah,
they, like, no one predicted there was going to be a military parade in DC
dude.
when Warp Tour is going
we
on. Who
maybe
knew
should have
that?
predicted
Like,
that. We maybe should have predicted that one based on the day and stuff like that.
did
I
we
don't know,
look
but
at the day?
yes, Kevin, I don't know, buddy.
It's impossible to think about. I mean, like the Insomniac team,
Yeah.
who's now behind Warp Tour, are phenomenal human beings. And
Yeah.
shout out to Amanda for being just an absolute star and on the buying team. Between her team and Lyman's team, they put together a great festival. I mean, I think some bands went into it thinking it was going to be like Warped, and some bands were praying that it wasn't going to be like Warped because
Yeah,
Warped backstage used to be the parking lot, and we used to just hang out on each other's buses. And now, like, there's a green room with like a theme. There's an artist
Wow.
lounge with a theme, and everybody has air conditioning in their trailers,
sick. You
and
Coachella that
it's
shit.
It's Coachella.
I was, I was just yeah.
it's very well run. It's very well
You
run,
I
and
love it.
First off, I'm literally laying in bed at like noon or whatever it is last weekend, and I'm like, oh, like we're in a group chat, and I'm like, I'm at Hawthorne Heights, but I'm like, that fucking bed on the side of the stage, I'm like, I think I see that bed. I texted you. I was like, did I just see you on the live stream? You're like, yup. So, I mean, I'm guessing, on the previous iterations in the 2010s, I'm because of Hawthorne alone, I'm guessing you have experience with Warped Tour before and how it is now. I mean, obviously that's a big point of contention in our world. What are your thoughts on the new Warped Tour? Is this better? Is this something that you want to see staying? Does this seem like it kind of solved some of the problems before? Like, what's your take on that from
Yeah.
Ben's side?
I mean, again, I think the scene needed this. I think the break was also needed too. I mean, something when something happens every year, year over year over year, you're gonna see a diminishing returns.
Diminishing returns.
But like, it's $150 for 2 days. There isn't
Insane.
really any other festival out there
Nope.
that doesn't really come close to like that. That I mean, like, like we love the Danny Wimmer guys, but it's $400 for a couple day pass versus $150 for Warp Tour, and you're getting quality, like a great quality lineup. And
75 bucks a
again,
day.
going
I
back to
don't even
that,
think you're
like,
getting a regular show for that. Like 75 bucks for a show isn't, for one of these acts. Yeah.
right,
No,
exactly, and you're getting two
You're
days,
not
and you're
seeing
getting
Machine Gun Kelsey for $75.
you are
Right.
not.
Yeah.
Not definitely not all time low. No.
exactly the point. And like, granted, there's a lot of great upgrades for great lifts for fans for those that like want to spend a couple extra bucks. But for like your consumer that's like was really hoping for that $40 ticket, and they see it like, oh, it's $150. Well, it's like $75 a day. First of all, A, and B, you're talking about prices that are fucking years ago, and C, like branded partnerships are not what they were used to be. And like I handle all the Is for Lovers festivals that Hawthorne Heights does, right? And I was talking with Kevin, actually it was at NAM a couple years ago, and I like sat in on Kevin's panel, and I was like, I raised my hand. He's like, oh, what's up, Ben? And I'm like, Kevin, I do Is for Lovers festivals, like we're trying to make it bigger and better. What do you suggest? And he's like, oh, it's easy, Ben. Go get yourself a $5 million sponsorship from fans. I'm like, all right, what do I
Just
do if I
have
if
a
I
shoe
can't get
company
I
that?
fund you,
can't
brother.
do that.
You go to
Like, what
Super, you go to Nike. Come on. Jesus Christ. Is
what if
DC
that
still
doesn't
in
exist?
business?
He's yeah. Like, what if that doesn't exist? He's like, good fucking luck. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Thanks.
that's the
Thanks,
answer to
Kevin.
that.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, the whole industry has changed, especially like
Yeah.
after COVID. Like everything is more expensive, and like you're gonna like it's like the classic shit rolls downhill, right? Like touring is more expensive because bus costs are more expensive, and fuel's more expensive, and labor's more expensive, and obviously bands want to make more than what they did last year because if we didn't, then what's the point of working?
Hmm.
So that trickles down to the consumer who has to pay a ticket, who has to pay that ticket price, that inflated ticket price, and then that inflated ticket price is a direct um, reflection of what that ticket fee is on top of that because it's a percentage of the ticket,
Yeah.
and so on and so on and so on. So like when we work so hard to negotiate ticket price, like whenever I do a tour, I'm very specific on the ticket price. That ticket price because I know my band's not I know a fan's not gonna pay more than $35 for for X band,
Yeah.
but when they're at checkout, it's $42 and then you lose them at the checkout, right? Because they're
Yeah.
like in their mind, it's like if I'm paying under $40 to this band, I'm in. $42, I'm out, right? And then there's like a whole bunch of yeah, I mean we could talk about ticketing all day. Um
Oh, buddy. Yeah, we could have a whole
yeah.
episode on that one,
Yeah.
Ben. Because I have a lot of thoughts on tickets. But go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, that's I don't even remember where I was going with that. It was,
Well, okay, so speaking of that, what do you feel about All American Rejects house party approach, their real Robin Hood approach of trying to, kind of, I don't want to say like stick it to Ticketmaster, but what do you feel about that approach
yeah.
that they're taking? Is it a gimmick? Do you feel like they're doing something to maybe help out
Gimmick.
with
Yeah.
that? Yeah, what do you feel?
Or
So
is it really good marketing?
Are
Yeah.
you? Yes.
yeah, I mean, like, I listen. I mean, I think rejects can do whatever the fuck they want to do because
That's
they've
true.
got a
Yeah,
fucking
that's
ton of
true.
money,
Yes.
and they're wonderful guys. We had rejects do our Tahoe's for Lovers Festival. Their
Oh,
manager's a wonderful person. They're great human
yeah.
beings, and so they can do whatever the fuck they want to do. I will say there was a band that did it first, not on the house party scale, but to try and stick it back to Live Nation and Ticketmaster. That band was Pearl Jam, and if you don't know the
Shout
story
out
about
Eddie
how
Vedder.
Coachella
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Eddie Vedder did it. Yep.
My
if
goat.
you
Yeah.
if you don't know the story about how Coachella got started, the grounds that Coachella is on is because Pearl Jam wanted to do a tour that didn't involve Ticketmaster. or Live Nation. So they found a spot in Indio where they put a show on, and they could use their own ticketing system, and AEG was a promoter, which is where
Wow.
Coachella is now at, and why Coachella is the buyer, or Golden West is the buyer for Coachella.
And then I went and saw Pearl Jam last year, and it cost like $250. So either die a hero, you live long enough to be the villain that charges $200 for the seats in the 200s at the Forum.
We all become the villains.
Yep.
It happens.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I love when bands do that. Like as a
Yeah.
fan, to be able to see a band in not their traditional venue setting is
Hmm.
awesome. Like them. Sorry, I'm trying to think about how to politically state this. Yeah, I mean, like again, that band can do whatever the fuck they want because
Yeah,
they're
they can.
rad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think, like Randy Nichols, the manager for Under Oath, is very outspoken when it comes to like Ticketmaster, between Ticketmaster and scalping of tickets, and he's been fighting really, really hard for artists recently. And if you don't follow Randy on Instagram, you definitely should follow his story and the work that he's doing for artists because, I mean, that whole market is, we're going back to ticketing here, but that whole market is fucked up.
Yeah.
And
It
you've
is.
got these companies that fucking listen to static radio on the way into work, who don't give a shit about music, are just absolutely making hand over fists on fans that are just trying to buy their kids' Taylor Swift tickets.
Yep. Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
saw I don't remember which what cable news network did the special on it just recently, but it was incredible the amount, like the tricks that they have and the amount of money they're just making off of us, just how they can quickly just pull the tickets away
Hmm.
from us and then resell them at like astronomical prices. It's like
Yeah. Yeah, it's and again, all goes back to the consumer and how,
yeah.
and they're the ones that get fucked over by
Yeah.
stuff like that, and like
Yeah.
fans don't fan, and then like who do they reach out to? Who do fans reach out to first when they're pissed off? The fucking band, because they know the
Yeah.
band's gonna respond. You
Yeah.
know,
And the band
some fucking
Slide,
ding
yeah,
dong
start
on Stub,
sliding the
who's running
replies.
the,
yeah.
it's whoever ding dong that's running the fucking StubHub X account is not gonna give a shit about
Nope.
some band in fucking Wichita, Kansas who got totally fucking scammed out of tickets, or
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah.
Um, there has to be some sort of accountability. And I think guys like Randy, who are doing fucking the work for all of us, and also the folks over at NEVA, which is the National Independent Venue Association, those folks as well are really fighting for the consumer, and like
Yeah.
if consumers knew more about that and we got more people involved, like, you know, there are ways to change how things are done. Now, I'm also going to go ahead and say on the record, I love Live Nation. I love everything Live Nation does because they're great partners with my bands.
Yes, of
But
Yes.
course.
with my consumer hat on, things do need to change.
Yeah. And can't be
Understandable. Yeah.
both. You can express both
You,
ways.
you can see, yeah,
Yeah.
you can acknowledge maybe some change need to happen while also understanding there's logistics and reasons for the things to an extent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of the Live Nation buyers are my friends. There are certain things that like are just above everybody's pay grade.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. And that's
But
it.
yeah, at the end of the day, we all want to see more bodies in rooms. We want to see people pay less for ticket prices and be able to, which in turn allows them to go to more shows. You know, we don't want people to just going one show a year. We want them going to 10 shows a year. That benefits everybody or more, ideally.
That's what I would like to do. Yeah. If I can. So I'm trying to. I'll be in Nashville for like a whole weekend coming up because I have Cartel and who else is playing right before Cartel? Do I still
Bayside?
buy tickets? I don't remember. Bayside,
Oh,
that's
that
right. I'm gonna do Bayside of the Cartel. I'm like, I'll just stay the whole weekend. That's what I'm just gonna
nice.
do.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
then you just fill your spare time in with the honky tonks. Boom. Well, it's
Yes,
live
exactly.
music.
Hang out with the hockey dogs. All right. So before we wrap up, Ben, are there any upcoming, tours or anything that you want to share with us that you're really excited about that you're allowed to share with us? Anything that's going on with you or anything like
Yeah,
that you want to share? I know that
man.
sometimes it's hard
Yeah.
in our industry. Things need to be kept a secret
You're like
until they're
everything
not
good.
anymore.
I can't say anything good.
I know.
You're like,
I'm
I
trying to
can't
remember
say
what
it.
tours I have announced right now.
Right, yeah. Same thing when I saw you. You're like, oh, we're doing this, X, Y, and you're like, and you can't say this on the fucking podcast. And all I'm like,
Yeah.
my God, it's supposed to be so difficult for your life. Just like,
I know.
I'm sitting on something that so many people in this room would enjoy, and you're like, you motherfuckers aren't gonna know what hits you in 6 months, you know?
I do sometimes go on like if a band that I rep has like a subreddit, I will jump in those subreddits and drop hints on shit. Like
There we go.
yeah. 'Cause it's the
Love it.
only thing I can do like anonymously, or like if I'm playing Call of Duty and someone like if it somehow comes up about music, I'll just drop little bombshells.
I wonder if
just
people
because
on Call of
it's
Duty play with
fun.
you. They're like, "Who's that
Right?
guy?"
Yeah, just yeah,
It's
dropping
funny.
little fucking
I
Easter
actually
eggs.
I actually met one of my really close friends who became one of the bandwagon drivers for the orchestra tour. I met him on Call of Duty,
Wow.
and we've become best buds in real life.
I
That's
when I
amazing.
saw you, we talked about your Call of Duty thing, and you guys have some rules for Call of Duty, and I've kept that. So I'm just like, that's the best. I like we don't do mom jokes; it's only dad jokes. And I'm like, this is
Yes,
fucking magical for life. I'm like, there's some ethics to this Call of Duty here. Like, okay,
yes. Let's not. Yes, yeah. I can feel my face turning red right now, so we should. We'll not
that's
talk
what's
about
up
the
with the,
Call of
the
Duty stuff.
secret game community.
Eric has
Yes,
a
sorry.
secret.
Yeah, my secret game community. It is really funny because I play with like a bunch of different bands on Call of Duty. It's
Yeah,
our little like safe space.
I love that. That's a fantastic.
But no, I mean like I don't think I have. I mean, I'm trying to remember what bands. I mean, I have Acceptance coming up. They're doing a bunch of shows for their anniversary of Phantom. So for SoCal, they're Observatory, San Diego, and Santa Ana, and the Fonda in LA. So if you guys are around, I'll be out there for that. Doing some Northeast states as well, and
My buddy's the GM at the
some
San Diego one. I'll come down. I'll see you.
cool, awesome, yeah. Again, there's some stuff I can't say, but Acceptance has some stuff coming out soon that is so cool.
Okay.
Merlin's out in August, continuing their anniversary of Never Take Friendship Personal, and Maddie Mullen stepping in for Stephen Christian has just been absolutely awesome. And Maddie's a great dude.
Yeah.
It's been great for the Amberlin guys to be able to continue playing songs while Stephen does his own finds his own path for now. I have a lot of really great developing bands like Good Terms, who's managed by Casey from the Wonder Years, and Flake and
Flake,
Bad Luck
love
out of New
Flake.
York.
God,
Yeah,
Flake
he's rad.
fucking rips. Yeah.
So good. And then obviously Tori Grace, I spoke about her a little while ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and also thank you guys too. It's again like podcasts like this and people continuing to talk about our scene and talking about music is what will continue to drive this scene
Yeah.
and make sure that kids who don't know about this music, they know about it, and chances are
Pumps
that maybe
around.
they'll
Yeah.
find their new favorite band. So yeah.
I need you to do me a favor. I had tickets to Is for Lovers Fest here in LA last year. I was gonna go because I wanted to see the matches, Ben. I love the matches. It's one of my favorite bands. And they dropped off. I ended up not going. So I need you get me the matches on Is for Lovers in the next couple of years. Please, please, Ben, please. For me.
I'm
The
I'm
people
not
love the
gonna say
matches.
this, but I just put it in the chat there to make you
Ah, all right. See you there, bro.
I'll leave you on that cliffhanger of like not knowing what I just texted you about.
No one will know. All right, and
All
with
right.
that lovely cliffhanger that no one else knows but Rob and I, thank you,
Love you,
Ben,
buddy.
so much for joining us today. This has been a fantastic conversation. Really, I think
Yeah.
everyone has learned a lot. I know I have, and thank you for all that you do in the scene, everything you've done. I mean,
No, yeah,
yeah,
you
this has
legit.
been
Yeah, it's silly. It
fantastic.
sounds silly, but it's like yes, you like you know,
Yeah,
it's like you. There's a clear passion here for it. I'm watching you walk around this venue. It's like you're the GM of a restaurant, or you're like a party host, and you're doing 10 different jobs, but you're still partying. You're still like connecting with the band, this and that's. Like, oh, you're running this. I see you got your app open, watching is like the ticket. You know, like how many people have shown up at the venue. It's like you are running this shit. And it's very clearly too. It's like it didn't look like a job. Like this motherfucker's having the time of his life. So
yeah,
like, thank you for keeping this alive and giving us an excuse to do this show and helping make people get to see their favorite bands.
Hell yeah, dude! Awesome. Well, yeah. Again, appreciate you guys having me on, and best of luck continuing the podcast. And yeah,
thank you.
hit me
Oh
up if you
yeah,
ever need concert tickets
yeah,
to my
I'll
band, at
see you
least.
for
Yeah.
the acceptance show.
Well,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ben.
All
See
right.
you
Awesome.
there,
All
buddy.
right.
Later,
Talk to you
brother.
guys soon.
Thanks,
Bye.
man.